in circles forever. And right now, what we're doing is going around in circles forever. Telling me there should have been 3 people negotiating, was only 2, and it should be a 3rd one, you know. It's a little late, but I got the point.
The next morning, any chance of a deal seems to have evaporated. Nobody seems to know why the State Department has changed its mind.
We have far more reason on our side for there being a problem with this.
But still, it's just very upsetting.
Yeah. We had a deal.
Now with the Crockett substitute.
Right.
All right. And any and all, we tried, Mr. Chairman.
Is it done?
No, I think it's undone.
Oh, it's undone. Well,
We had a little communication problem at the very end.
oh, that's too bad.
It's all off.
Okay.
I mean, it was done until 15 minutes ago.
Well, that's strange.
Well, we had a problem with where we thought that the administration's problem was with that specific part of the El Salvador reprogramming
Right.
that referred to these every 6-month
Yeah,
tranches.
right.
Now they're telling us, which they've never said before, that they're objecting to all El Salvador reprogrammings governing economic aid, administration of justice money, and all the ones we put in there at their request when we took out the presidential determinations. Well, you may be able to bring people together, but I wasn't. I mean, when I reported back that we had this new interpretation of what we were doing, our members all said, well, the hell with this.
Yeah.
48 hours later, a deal is back on. Determined to pass the bill out of his committee, Chairman Fiscal makes a last-minute arrangement with high-level State Department officials. The agreement is one that both Democrats and Republicans can support. The administration, while not endorsing the deal, has agreed not to oppose it. Watered-down congressional controls over aid to Central America are included. Everyone has compromised.
Same thing, only difference is
The deal will enable the Foreign Assistance Bill to finally pass out of Fiscal's committee.
or other conditions or whatever.
But you got to have with rules
Both sides.
anyway.
You got to work
or
it
else
out
we'll
with
fight
rules anyway.
with-
Committee will come to order. We have reached what we believe is a workable, sensible arrangement for the consideration of the very important matters in Title VII.
The Caribbean aid package remains in the bill, but there is still a long way to go before it can be enacted as law.
If we can't get the votes in the Senate to pass this bill or even consider it, we may have to start on an entirely new draft of something else. But that's the democratic process. You're a very small cog in a very big machine, and it takes everybody to make the thing work.
There are some things we knew we couldn't do in this committee based on the dynamics between Crockett and Largo-Messino on Western Hemisphere.
Yeah.
We didn't have the votes.
With a new administration taking over, I don't think the administration can reasonably expect that from this committee.
There's an ideal foreign aid program, and then there's the more realistic objectives I have, which are basically improvements on the margins of the U.S. foreign assistance process. Foreign aid that is more responsive to the needs in specific countries, driven more by economic considerations and less by military and political considerations.
You can't pretend that many third world governments have the authority or the autonomy or the independence to set their own policies. They operate within a global economic system that is not very concerned about the equitable distribution of goods and services.
Now tell me, what do you do in situations like that? So what developing country finance ministers or officials or leaders face is a situation which you as an American citizen would face if your income were going down continuously, if your debt obligations were going up, and you had no one to turn to at a particular moment in time. Tell me, what would you do? And then you'll find out what developing country leaders would do.
I grew up in this country. I am happy that I grew up here. I knew hardship as a child. We ended up, all of us, staying with my mother in a very small village. There were 4 of us at the time. And those were some of the worst years in my life. So we ended up eating green bananas, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No meat, fish, or anything. My kid sister fell very ill one day. I accompanied my mother to the hospital with her. The hospital was about 30 miles away. By the time the doctor saw her, she was badly dehydrated and so on. The man gave her some drugs and so on. We started walking back. She died on my mother's back as we walked back home. This was really the culmination of things for me, you know, the poverty, the hardship. I was determined that I would really take my school more seriously, you know, and do something with my life and acquire the necessary training and so on to participate in the process of national development and transformation more generally, but to make sure that no babies died on mothers' backs that way.
Child health is still a problem in Ghana. Today, finding the means to fight malnutrition and infant mortality, paying for clinics and feeding programs, is part of the daily job of Kwesi Bachwe. He's been Minister of Finance for 7 years.
Sometimes we make these payments under pressure. The point is not to delay work on this first half-year work by doing the month-to-month thing.
Ghana is a poor nation with enormous problems, but it is being called a success story by some, a triumph of certain ideas about development.
Where does it belong in the budget? Right, that's one thing. The monetary things are what we'll take first, the monetary issues.
What Ghana and Dr. Bachwe have done over the last 7 years is being held up as a model for developing countries around the world.
Yeah, please. Yes, please. When the bank, your bankers, our bankers, are not behaving well, don't come running to me. Make sure that they do what
it hasn't been simple. Every day the job is tough. Every day there's a small battle to be fought.
What are you saying, Charles? What are you saying? So you have a ceiling, you don't want to break it, then you leave some items out.
No.
On paper and still pay in practice?
I thought that, I thought that amortization was going to be taken care of by the budget. I mean, above the line, because we had settled the...
How was the budget in an inanimate thing going to take care of amortization all by its little self?
When we were making provisions to, we were being told that there was
I
double
remember
counting.
what you were told, Charles.
Yeah.
Nothing was said that suggested that we should leave the thing out and hope that the budget would take care of it.
Although what he does is sometimes very arcane, a good finance minister is a key part of a country's development. Much of the job of managing too many problems with too few resources falls on his shoulders. Even on Sunday, the job continues.
I'm an office holder. People come to my house in the morning every day with all manner of problems. Everything from school matters to matrimonial problems to travel problems and so on. Things that don't have anything to do with me. But I must find a way of listening to show that I still am the same, to show that one is still sensitive to the problems of family members and friends and so on. The club, you see a lot of people there, young professionals, civil servants, businessmen, entrepreneurs, and in my position, it's important to keep one's ears to the ground and not lose touch with people. It is better to have a joint venture. That's my own view. I mean, you sunk things in there. The man is never going to be able to pay you, you know.
In 1982, when Bachwe took office, Ghana was in economic ruin. The country was more than 7 years behind on payments on a $2 billion debt, and there was hardly enough money to import essentials such as food and medicines. But to begin to change things, Ghana would need money to prime the pump. To find the money it needed, Ghana went to the International Monetary Fund, headquartered in Washington, D.C.
I get so busy when I get here that I've never really had the opportunity to see Washington. I went to the States to do my graduate work. Saw all the big things, big cities, and everything done on such a large scale and so on. It just strengthened my determination, in fact, to understand the processes of national development better.
The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, lends money to countries to help finance their development. The interest payments are low compared to commercial banks. But to get an IMF loan, a country has to follow some tough rules. It must increase exports and make big cuts in domestic spending. Botchway and his ministry knew this when they devised their own plan, called the Economic Recovery Program.
It doesn't make sense to go to the fund with a program that one ought to know is not supportable by the fund. So we went there with a program that we thought addressed our national interests and concerns, but at the same time would win support from the International Monetary Fund. The fund has interests that are not always entirely reconcilable with those of the member country. Above all, they are interested in ensuring, naturally, that you pay them back. There are a number of countries that have defaulted in this regard. They are like a bank. When we started the program, essentially in 1983, we were dealing with a very severe national crisis that had spanned over a decade which had seen perhaps the worst economic decline in the history of the West African sub-region.
Then he became popular leader.
At the time of her independence from Britain in 1957, the country's future looked promising. Ghana was the world's largest producer of cocoa and had about $1 billion in reserves.
6th of March, Independence Day.
The battle has ended. Ghana, your beloved country, is free forever.
Ghana's founding father, Kwame Nkrumah, was eager to see his country prosper. He adopted a development program that was in keeping with the theories of the day, industrialization. Nkrumah and the leaders that followed turned their attention away from agriculture and Ghana's main export, cocoa, and focused instead on building up industry and cities. But over 2 decades of failed industrial ventures, neglected cocoa fields, overextended borrowing, and widespread corruption left the economy in shambles. This unfinished resort hotel is a remnant of that time.
That's the hotel. This is the hotel. When they finish, here will be the hotel from where you drink, chop, dance. The other side, you sleep. When you want to sleep, you go and book yourself here and there.
By 1982, Ghana was deeply in debt, earning too little money to meet its payments.
As our foreign exchange resources dwindled with the decline, the hospitals became death traps, and the schools were free, but there was nothing in them. No books, no chalk. So it was very clear that we couldn't go on the way we were going, and that we really were on the brink of total economic, social, and political disintegration as a country. I'm urging the bank, you see, to
The program that Botchway set in motion was a tough one. The plan, with IMF backing, did a number of things that affected all Ghanaians.
Really claims on the textile companies. I would like, when we've done this, to be cross-checking also with the Ministry of Agriculture.
It invested in agriculture and cut back on a bloated bureaucracy.
For any